So we're back working on this Ram this morning. We're going to put a used steering gear in it. I'll put a link to the first video where I diagnosed this. And we're also going to change the clock spring because the little gear that drives the steering angle sensor is worn and it skips, goes out of sync. But I put it back in sync temporarily. But the reason why we're changing it is I'm not turning the steering wheel. That's bizarre. Great for checking tie rod ends by yourself. You can stop it. But if you just give it a little nudge, it just takes over and starts turning back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So hopefully the used steering gear is going to fix it. New one's like $4,500. So we're going to try and cheat and take the tie rod ends off and just leave the wheels on. So there's the two tie rods, these two major bolts here, and the pinch bolt on the steering shaft going in, and then the electrical plugs here. And hopefully we can get this out. So as a lot of you front end guys know, that when you go to take this tie rod nut off, sometimes it, even if you back it off and put it on several times, it'll spin and then you can't get it off. So I figured out this little trick with the ball joint press. Put the ball joint press in the socket through there, and that holds it in the taper so that you can remove the nut. Hope that helps somebody. Could cut it off with a Sawzall, but way less work. So there's the new steering gear. If you move it towards the right-hand side and up into this area in here, then you can tilt the tie rod end out from the lower control arm and take it out on the left-hand side and drop it down. These bolts are 133 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. The tie rod nuts are 22 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. And the pinch bolt up there is 36 foot-pounds. I put Loctite on the tie rod nuts and the pinch bolt just to be extra cautious. Technically, you're supposed to replace this nut because it's the lock nut, but I Loctited it. I can sleep at night. And dielectric grease on the connectors, and we're going to fire it up and see if it still does the funky stuff. I did notice something wrong with the steering gear when I got it out. Now I had looked at this when it was in the truck and I didn't see this. This left-hand tie rod boot is broken. And if you don't turn the steering, it's hard to see that. But if they go into deep water, water will go into the rack, and in the rack is a module. I might pull the cover off this thing just to look in there and see if water has in fact ingressed into the steering gear. This side's okay. Obviously this thing has to have a wheel alignment. I checked those original tie rod ends that were supplied with the used rack and they were in good condition, so we reused them. So now the moment of truth. We're going to start this thing up. Got a service airbag message because I got the airbag out. Doesn't do it anymore. It's got normal assist in both directions. That one had, the steering felt very light, and occasionally it would pull to the left by itself. So there's an internal problem in that rack. Now to put the clock spring in. So this is what we sourced from the aftermarket. BWD CLS 423. BWD broke when delivered, but I hope not. But looking at the part that's actually in the box, and it appears to be a genuine Chrysler part. It's not, it's got the same tag on it as the original one. Now we have to take the multifunction switch off and transfer it over the turn signal and wiper switch. So the turn signal wiper switch is held in with one little plastic clip, and then it slides straight up, and this filler plate, I imagine for a steering column tilt or something, electric switch, is just a plastic clip in here, and you push it out. There looks to be a spot for a screw here, but there was no screw in there. But I can't see this switch coming out, so we're going to leave it like that. And the new unit comes supplied with new T20 screws to hold it in place. Let's reassemble it. So there it is back together. We're going to do some code clearing. I'm sure there's code set in it. And we're going to do the check the steering angle sensor. It should be at 0 plus or minus 10 degrees. There's no re-zeroing on this one as far as I can see. And the torque on that steering wheel bolt is 45 foot-pounds, by the way. So there's the torque specs for the steering column. We're going to go into the vehicle history here. Oh, here it is. Activate. Scanner. Yeah, it did pick the VIN. Display fitted systems. Clear all codes read by code scan. I got a battery charger on it set at 13.6 volts. Okay. Anti-lock brakes. Functional tests. No, that's not where it is. It's in miscellaneous tests. Initialize ECU. Level ground, wheel straight ahead, brake pedal released. Continue. Continue, G sensor calibration. Continue. Continue. Cycle ignition key off, then on. After cycling the key, press continue. So turn the key off. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. Back on. Continue. Engine must not be running. Resetting rolls information. Test complete. Okay, so that, my understanding, needs to be done. Let's look at the steering column control module and data. And the steering angle sensor should be 0. Steering angle sensor 0 degrees, right on. Perfect. So let's start it and turn the steering one way and then the other. Turning to the right. That's the end. Turning to the left. Centered. Turning left now. And back to center. Steering feels normal. That's approximately centered. It's got to go for a wheel alignment. So it went from 0 to 548 positive and 555 negative. So I'll take this for a road test now. It steers fine. The actual steering wheel is centered even. Check engine light came on. It had a code for an oxygen sensor. I did change the high mounted brake light bulb. It was burnt out. It had a code for that as well. He needs to fix his license plate lights. It needs new sockets. So we'll call this one fixed. Thanks for watching. So there's a bunch of T20 safety torque screws that hold that cover in there. What do you think? The water in here might do something? So don't drive in the water with broken boots. I wouldn't go in the water without broken boots, period. That's just poor quality control. They could have put the electronics for this thing somewhere else. Oh well.